What does your spiritual life feel like to you? Are you feeling comfortable with the idea of taking responsibility for every facet of your life as you stay in alignment through faith? Or do you feel as though you live in a random universe that's filled with chaos? No matter what choice you make, you'll experience the consequences of that choice, which will be both positive and negative. As always, there's no one right way to get it done, and you always have the option to change your mind. But now is the time to make a choice about your beliefs, because having no firm belief structure leaves you vulnerable and makes progress difficult. It's far better to choose one belief or another than to have no belief to help you steer your ship. Welcome, everyone. It's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer, here with you on Angel Heart Radio. And if you are ready to really understand the difference between the two states of being, the third dimensional state of being, or the fifth dimensional, then I want you to stay with me, because when we come back, we're going to take an honest look at both dimensions.
Angel Heart Radio programs are powerful tools for transformation, positivity, joy, and hope. They should not be used to replace your legal or medical advice. Welcome to Angel Heart Radio, where we celebrate you. We celebrate your divine connection. We celebrate your magnificence. We celebrate you as a beautiful being here on planet Earth, sharing your love and your light. We are so blessed to have amazing hosts here on Angel Heart Radio. We fan your seeds of hope and we help you to plant more. AngelHeartRadio.com is our station, and AngelLight777.com is our big sister. All the links, the series, host information, how to visit us, and really how to receive the best from Angel Heart Radio, and a whole lot more besides. Thank you for choosing to be with us on Angel Heart Radio. We're so grateful to share with you. Powered by love, Angel Heart Radio is brought to you by AngelLight777.com.
So today I'd like to begin with a simple definition of what is third dimensional reality and what is fifth dimensional. But we need to understand that this is not a choice between bad or good. It's a choice between experiences. And whenever you make a choice, you have to be prepared to receive whatever the consequences are that come with that choice. We can't say, oh gosh, I chose to eat ice cream for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and now I have a stomach ache. Oh, and I'm angry because I didn't want a stomach ache. Well, when we do not honor our body with food that it can handle and feel better from on a consistent basis, then the body is going to rebel and give you something that you don't want. So we need to be really clear about the fact that everything that we choose, everything that we allow to be part of our belief system comes with a consequence. And we need to understand what the consequence is before we make a decision which direction that we're going to go. So today, our education is going to be all about understanding the consequences of our choices. So to begin, the D in 3D and 5D stands for dimensions. What does that mean? Each one of us is in a physical body, and therefore we automatically reside in the third dimension. We can touch them and feel them and see them. It is not just unidimensional. It's not flat. It actually has shape and form to us. And when we're in the energetic plane, we are without dimension, or perhaps that could be called the ultimate dimension, because in that state we recognize our oneness. We do not have physical bodies that appear to give us a limited view or a limited vision, and we can recognize that we are all ultimately one being, benefiting each other in many ways or causing harm to the body as a whole. So, when our minds participate in 3D thinking, we tend to see the world as black or white. We generally hold the view that events are random, things just happen. And we do not believe that we are responsible for how our life unfolds. Everything is left up to fate. So, in other words, I would be um, having some wonderful news in my life, and I would say, "Oh my gosh, isn't it fabulous? I'm so blessed by this incredible news," or "I'm so excited that I got this wonderful news." On the other side, I may say, if I got bad news, "Oh, poor me. Isn't it terrible that God hates me, or that I'm not being blessed in this life? I feel so badly that I'm unable to be loved. I wonder what it is about me or my family, or why is it that God can't love me?" So I'm making a statement. I'm making a belief statement based on what I believe to be the truth, but I am participating in a universe that I consider to be random. I'm not understanding that I have responsibility and that I am actually participating in the things, in bringing to me the things that I experience. Instead, I choose to say that I am either lucky or unlucky, blessed or not blessed. However, the outcome that I am anticipating generally cannot be predicted. It's hoped for, but usually it's just endured. Oh, look at this bad thing that happened, or hallelujah, look at this great thing that happened. Aren't I lucky? Or too bad for me, I'm really feeling unlucky, or I'm on a losing streak. We've all heard people say these things, and generally it makes us believe that we just live in a random universe and there's nothing we can do to make it better. Now, what happens in the 3D universe? Well, we begin living in a state of fear. Because everything is random, because we can't participate or do anything to change things, because everything has been left up to luck, this becomes the realm of fear. It is believed that everything is out of control. Life's just a crapshoot, and it can make us just have no choice but to go deeply into the place where fear lives and begin looking at our lives from that place. Well, if I'm afraid of everything, I'll be prepared for something. Also, in this 3D realm, religion can be wonderfully soothing because it provides us with fabulous rules. It overrules the explanation for things that are otherwise thought to be unexplainable. So, yes, religion has its own set of rules for how you should behave and the way why you should do certain things at a certain time. But it also provides structure to this world that has become filled with random events, and it helps reduce the fear and the risk that you may be feeling. Okay, well, maybe I can't control anything. And maybe it's just random whether God loves me today or hates me tomorrow. But at least with religion, I have a set of rules that I can follow. And then I'll feel like maybe I'm safe. Maybe it will be okay for me to live a life that feels good because I have these rules, and the rules tell me if I do these things, good things will happen to me. So, in that way, it helps us grasp onto something and begin letting go of the fear, because now we've kind of grabbed onto these rules and we're thinking, all right, I've got this structure, and if I really follow it and I'm really devoted to it, then I don't have to be afraid because God will love me if I say this prayer or do this ritual or help this person. But everything is being done to ward off disaster or to get ahead of the next disaster. So the 3D view then causes us to be extremely judgmental. We have to judge everything because if we don't, there's the possibility that something bad can enter our reality and do something to us or to our families, because remember, everything in the 3D realm is random. So it causes judgment, anxiety, the feeling of inferiority, fear, and the feeling that you're really unloved. Because unless you're living a bountiful life, you're going to be feeling like, gosh, why am I not worthy of riches or good health or good relationships or a family that really feels great to me? It's just normal to question, why don't I have any of these things that everybody else just takes for granted? Am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? Am I bad? Well, none of us like to ask those questions or feel that there could be something wrong with us. And of course, then that leads to judgment. Oh, I'm not bad. It's just that Bob is doing these things to me, or Sue is talking about me. We can start getting into that, a real state of neurosis, if we believe that we're being unfairly picked on. Because remember, in that 3D mindset, you don't understand that you have any ability to make a difference in your own life. And if you are doing well, the opposite may occur and you may feel superior. And when you're feeling superior, you'd think, okay, well, now I don't have to be anxious because I'm so much better than everybody else in the room. But I have noticed that people who are feeling superior may feel even more anxiety than others because then they're afraid that they're going to lose that place at the top. And they sure don't want to be at the bottom with the rest of those folks that appear to be having such a difficult life. So, in this dimension, you are dealing very much and very prevalently, I don't think you really ever get a break from fear. It's just something that you deal with on a regular basis. You may build up some immunity to it, but fear has to be present somewhere throughout this whole existence. Now, recently, as recent as 2012, we began to have what is called the thinning of the veil. In other words, we used to live in a universe where it was quite difficult to access the divine. There were only a few people who, throughout history, had been able to pierce the veil and have what would be considered communication with the divine on any real level. So, the energy of the 3D world was there are certain people who can speak with God, and yet everyone else is sort of left in the dark. Then we had the 2012 when the planet began, the Earth itself began making its own ascension journey so that the distance between the energetic realm and the physical plane became less dense. And it was considered or called the thinning of the veil and the introduction of the 5-dimensional lifestyle or the 5D way of being. And as anything, fifth dimension has wonderful things about it and also things that may not be considered so wonderful. One of the things that almost everybody thinks is absolutely fabulous is we now have access to the energetic realm for all instead of just the favored few. So almost anyone, if you put enough energy and attention and focus into the practice, you should be able to contact the energetic realm. Now, of course, we have free will. So you may always choose not to connect or to make an excuse for why you cannot connect. Or you may choose to be actively blocking the connection because you're afraid of that for any reason. That's certainly okay. But what I want you to know is it's no longer an us versus them kind of communication. So you don't have to wait for someone to have psychic abilities or wait to speak to a medium or any other person like that. You can train yourself to do this as well. Now, of course, you are not going to be as skilled as someone who's been practicing for quite a long time. So that doesn't mean that you never speak to someone who has psychic ability or is a medium and can talk with the energetic realm. And the other thing to keep in mind is that when it is you and you're dealing with a situation that may be emotionally charged, it is very difficult to get clear. That's when someone outside of yourself can really be helpful. Can you do it? Absolutely. But it does take a lot of real attention and focus because it's you, it's important to you, it's emotionally charged, it's easy to read things into the situation. So one of the things that the fifth dimensional attunement allows us to acquire is that everybody can access the energetic realm. But we also can access divine truth. That means when you are talking directly with the energetic realm, with the ascended masters, the archangels, with the beings in the energetic realm, you are going to no longer be able to hold yourself in the darkness of, well, I didn't know, because they are quite willing to share with you. However, what they will not share is any of your false or limiting beliefs. So you may approach the divine and say to them something along the lines of, well, I just believe I have no value. That can be your understanding. They cannot lie or have no interest in lying. They are beings of love, of unconditional love, and they have no ego that is causing them to be competitive in any way. So they will not allow you to hold on to that limiting belief. You may not be willing to hear that, but that will be the truth that they are sharing. So you may come to them and say, well, why am I such a failure? And the answer that you would receive is, you are not a failure unless you believe that you are. And you would have to do the work of letting go of that belief system. So with access to divine truth comes some responsibility. First of all, you're not going to be able to pretend there is no creator. I know that can often be a popular belief in today's society, but when you interact with the energetic realm, you're going to absolutely understand there is a creator. There is an energy that is greater than you are, that has knowledge that you don't have, and is willing to impart that knowledge to you. You also stop believing in randomness. Your conversation will shift from, oh, I'm so lucky or so unlucky, or I'm on a winning streak or a losing streak, and you'll start taking responsibility for what's happening in your life. You're not going to be able to continue to pretend that life is happening to you. Instead, you're going to understand that life is happening through you. And the other thing that you're going to have to give up is you can't just pretend that you're along for the ride. You're not just having things done to you that you have no control over. You are agreeing to whatever you're experiencing on some level. And always, it is for the purpose of your growth. It is never for punishment. But we need to understand, you can experience things that feel like punishment because you have made a bad choice leading up to that moment. However, no one and nothing is out to get you. You are merely experiencing the consequence of the choice that you made previously, and you are getting an opportunity to grow. So, will you experience things that are not fun? You might. Most probably, because I have yet to meet the person who makes the right choice every time. Are you being punished? Absolutely not. There is no punishment coming from the divine. You are merely experiencing the consequences of your choice. So if we were to choose to be here in the fifth dimensional realm, we would begin with the buzzword for this dimension of responsibility. When you say, I am ready to look at things from a fifth dimensional perspective, you are saying, oh, I get it. I create my own reality with my thoughts and my feelings. In other words, no more look at this bad thing that just came out of nowhere to trip me up. Now you would have to say, gosh, what have I been thinking for the last couple of months? What belief system am I practicing that has allowed this to enter my energetic vibration? You begin assuming responsibility for where you are in life. Instead of assuming that something is being done to you or asking people to do it for you, you realize no one can do it for you. You've got to be a full participant, and no one can do anything to you without your consent. The place that we get screwed up on this is you may be saying to yourself, but I haven't given consent because your conscious mind says, I would never allow these bad things or this experience to be part of my life. But if subconsciously you're feeling badly about yourself or something else, you may be inviting in this outcome. Or if you're holding a limiting belief that says, I don't deserve to prosper, you really have no way around receiving these consequences because you've said yes to it. So you're going to have to assume responsibility for where you are in your life. And you are expected to cooperate with your highest good instead of expecting it to be delivered. So if you are saying, wow, I'm really on a winning streak, you expect that good things are just going to be delivered to you and that you really have no control over it, just that somebody likes you today. When you are existing in a fifth dimensional world, you understand that you create the experiences that you have. So in other words, if you want to experience good, then you're going to have to make sure that your belief system allows you to receive good and that you are thinking, talking, and feeling in a way that will attract good to you. You got to begin recognizing that your dominant belief system, and that's the one created by your thoughts, your words, and your feelings, is your responsibility. You're the one that's creating it. I know years ago when I first started down this path, I truly believed that my thoughts were random, that my brain was creating thoughts and I just had to go along with those thoughts, whatever they may be, whether they were happy or doom and gloom. I had no choice but to go along with those thoughts. It was a real surprise to me to discover that I had complete control over what I was thinking. Not only did I have complete control, but that I was responsible for those thoughts. So you are expected to control your thoughts, not to allow them to control you. You're also expected to choose love over fear because there is no random force out to get you. You're able to see that you live in a very loving universe instead of a universe in which you need to be filled with fear and anxiety. Faith must replace fear, for obstacles are not to be seen as something to avoid, but something from which you can learn. So certainly in my early days in the spiritual realm, it felt like I was just constantly being clunked over the head by crazy things, things that just came out of the blue, and I was constantly afraid. I had no faith. I just had fear. I just believed that if I wasn't on the alert, that life could only continue to be good for a certain period of time, and then I had to expect that something terrible was going to happen, and I had to be okay with that. After all, life was random, out of control, and good and bad things were going to happen. I didn't learn a lot during that time. I just learned to be afraid. It wasn't until I really began doing the work and really began taking responsibility for everything that I had created in my life that I was able to grow. And of course, that's what the energetic realm wants for you. The divine has a plan for all of us. They have a belief for all of us, and that is a desire that each one of us grow to our full potential, that each one of us realize that limiting beliefs are just that, not true. They're just beliefs that we have attached to that will allow us to limit our potential because we're afraid that we're just not good enough on some level. So today I'm going to challenge you to let go of whatever limiting beliefs you're holding on to. And you may be holding on to them tight. I don't know. But I want you to take a minute and to look at those limiting beliefs that you're holding on to. And they may be hiding in different disguises. So one may be, I'm unlovable. Another may be, people always betray me. Or I can't trust anyone. Well, some people are not to be trusted. Some people may not be lovable. But it's time to get honest. Unless someone has demonstrated to you that they are not trustworthy because they break their word over and over and over again, or they say something and don't do it, and you have no reason not to trust them. Or if you are acting in a very loving manner, then you should expect to receive love in return. Unless you are wearing this suit of armor that says, I will receive no love. Take off that suit of armor. Begin trusting those people around you that have proven to you that they are trustworthy, and stop engaging with those people that don't keep their word. It's going to take a big weight off of you. When you're in the fifth dimension, it's considered the dimension of awakening. And many of you have your own awakening stories or have other people that have shared stories with you. And this just means that you become more responsible for your actions and your choices because you know better. Oftentimes it's said, well, those other people who are not taking responsibility are still asleep, because there was a time when we as a community, as a global population, really were not aware of all that we could do to interact positively with our lives. And it was as though we were sleepwalking through life. And so when we awaken, we wake up to the responsibility that really should have been ours from the beginning, that we were just unaware of. Also, when you make a conscious decision to join with the energetic realm, communication with the divine is expected. So it should not be you sitting there saying, well, I just don't seem to have any way to communicate with the divine, if you are truly taking responsibility. Now again, you may not be paying attention. You may not be receiving the signs because for whatever reason you have decided that you don't want to receive, or that you are not good enough to receive. That's probably more likely. Most stories that I hear is someone saying, well, I don't think the divine loves me enough to communicate with me. Let's get clear on that. Everyone is loved equally, no matter what they may have done, who they may be. Gender doesn't affect anything. Race doesn't affect whether you're loved or not loved. Even your belief system does not affect it. It may prevent you from receiving it, but that love is continuously outpouring on everyone and everything. There is no one who is refused divine love at any time, and that is across the board. It's impossible for you to find a situation in which love is not being sent forth. There are many ways to find situations in which love is not being received, but that is on the part of the receiver and not on the giver, which is the divine. So communication with the divine is expected because you are stepping into a partnership with the Creator and the energetic realm, and communication is a necessity. If you never communicate with your partner, it's going to be a very limited partnership. You're not going to be able to share with each other and do the things that you need to do or grow in the way that you would want to. Now, each one of us come with a previously set connection. So that means that there is no one that is unable to communicate. Some people, again, as I said, are unwilling. Others don't understand that they have the connection or are unable to believe that they have the connection and are thereby limiting their ability to connect. But everyone is able to communicate with the divine. So let's go over a couple of ways in which you can receive information from the divine. Generally, in the beginning, because the communication is not very clear, they will send you signs. This can be feathers, change, repeating numbers, maybe a license plate message or something on a billboard or a random song on the radio at just the right time. That is the least effective way for the divine to communicate because you could miss it so easily. You have to be on the lookout for the feather or make a connection between the repeating numbers and the fact that the angels are wanting to communicate with you. Sometimes you also may see colored lights blinking off and on. What I want you to work toward, though, is a stronger communication with God. And this can be auditory, where you're able to hear God, speak with God, and hear answers. And that would be called clairaudience, or clairvoyance, where you use the third eye, which is that sense located above the nose and in between the two eyes. There's a psychic sense where you can see, although most people don't actually see anything, it's more an impression. You get an understanding of what is there. There are some people, though, who actually see the information with their physical eyes that they are receiving with their third eye. And whether you see it with the physical eyes or you just see it with the third eye, that's called clairvoyance. And then there's also clairsentience, where you have the feeling or the knowing. Generally, that is in your gut. You kind of like, oh, that doesn't make me feel well, or that makes me feel wonderful. That really feels like something that I want to go forward with. It can also be goosebumps on your arms, could be considered clairsentience, or that feeling of the hair rising on the nape of your neck. So there are many ways in which the divine can communicate. And as you go more fully into the fifth dimensional reality, you may find that all of the senses, all of the clair senses, become more distinct. It will become easier for you to communicate in different ways. You'll move from just seeing feathers to actually getting a message. But this is going to require you letting go of the belief system that you can't. It will require practice because you're going to have to get used to using different senses, and you're going to have to be paying attention. So don't expect that it's going to happen immediately, and therefore don't assign any judgment like, oh, I guess it's not going to work for me. Understand this is an ongoing learning process, and it's going to take some time. Did you learn to read at a high school level overnight? Well, the fifth dimensional realm is almost like being in graduate school with the divine. You're not going to expect to be able to do it easily just in a heartbeat. Give it time. The other thing that's going to happen when you actively take a stand into the fifth dimensional realm is that you're going to be asked to lead the way in love. So if traditionally you were a person that kind of liked to run hot and cold, one minute you're loving, the next minute somebody has done you wrong, that's not going to work well for you in the fifth dimension. In the fifth dimension, you are being asked to expand yourself, to move beyond the ego self into the cooperative universal self that is really you, into the authentic self that is really you. And that means moving forward with an open heart, letting go of the judgments and the resentments that may have seemed really important to you when you had a more narrow view. But you are asked not to let others take advantage of you. That is not what it means to lead the way into love with love. But you are asked, because it's a realm of more responsibility, you are asked to show others what they can expect, the joy they can receive, the happiness that they can find by being loving. And because it is a realm of more responsibility, no one is forced. Yet, everyone is called. Now, how can that be possible if no one is forced? Because God loves all equally. Therefore, the choice to step out of randomness and into order, out of chaos and into a place of structure is available to absolutely everyone. But you are not forced to do anything. We, though, as a populace and as a planet, are now firmly entrenched in the ascension process. So it is no longer possible for us to say, oh, this is making me uncomfortable, I don't want to participate. The only way not to participate would be to say, okay, I'm ready to leave the physical body and go back into the energetic realm. But understand that we're past the halfway point. The planet has already made that ascension there into that state of oneness. This is why we are seeing such unrest, such unfolding or revealing of some of the deeper, not nice layers of society. There is much exposure going on at this time because that which is not of the highest vibration of love will not be allowed to be carried forth into the fifth dimensional realm. And so everyone is being given a chance to look at what's going on, to look at the energy that's being poured forth and say, wow, I am standing here in judgment, or I am actively trying to hurt other people, or I am living a life that is steeped in fear and not faith. I'm ready to make that change. I am ready to allow something else to come forward from me. I've lived my life in fear for a very long time, or I've been participating in the dark underbelly of society, and it doesn't feel good to be there any longer. These things are not being exposed so that people can feel shame and be punished. They're being exposed so that people can say, wow, I didn't realize I had a choice. I thought I had to participate in these activities. And I now see because so much love is being shared with me, I now see that it's possible for me to choose something more beautiful, something better. And I now see that I have responsibility for my life. I didn't ever have to participate in these events. I chose to, and so I can make a better choice. But as always, everyone must choose where it feels best to them. So you may not choose for your spouse. You've got to make your own choice. Be a shining light of love if you've chosen to be in the fifth dimensional realm, and encourage others to join you in that way. If you have chosen to remain in the third dimension, where you are going to be feeling as though life is random, then you must understand that you have made the choice not to be responsible. And it's time now to stop feeling badly when things happen to you, because you are calling them forth. So there's so much education, there's so much information out there now. It's really hard to say, oh, I didn't know. But as always, it's a choice. You can know and still choose to stay in your lane of it's not my fault. Stay there if that feels good to you, but understand that you're not going to be free of the consequences of that choice. So you can choose fear and that 3D way of being, which is limited choice and responsibility, or you can choose faith and that 5-dimensional way of being, which adds on to you unlimited potential. But recognize that when you choose unlimited potential, when you choose faith and to live with greater awareness, you're also agreeing to the responsibility that comes with that choice. The only thing you cannot continue to do is to bounce back and forth. Now, in the beginning, absolutely every single one of us were bouncing back and forth because the planet was not fully ascended. The energy was chaotic, and we were all feeling, you may have heard the term, ascension sickness. And so it didn't feel so great to want to be in the fifth dimensional realm. And we went back and forth between faith and fear. We went back and forth between being responsible and saying, oh no, it's not my fault. We kept bouncing back and forth. But now we're at a place where it really is for your best to choose one way or another. It can't be one day fate is in charge and the next day you want to be responsible. That's going to make you crazy. That's going to make your life so much more difficult than it needs to be. Because inconsistent effort is only going to bring you inconsistent results, so you're not going to see anything come from either dimension. So you could say, oh, I want to be in the fifth dimension because I want to be responsible and I'm going to create the best life for myself possible. That's a wonderful goal. I fully applaud you for that goal. But tomorrow you cannot wake up and say, it's not my fault, and expect that you're still going to be able to receive that goal of creating a wonderful life for yourself because you just abdicated the throne. So you need to decide, which way are you going to go? Do you want the responsibility of being in control of your life? Or does it feel better just to pretend that life is random? Either way, you may live a life of joy. You just have to decide, I'm going to find joy. Whether you find it because you're responsible for nothing, you don't like responsibility, and you'd rather just things happen the way they're going to happen, that's fine. Things are going to go up and down. They will be random. You will not really understand why a lot of things are happening to you because you're not paying attention to your thoughts or your feelings. But you can still be joyful if that kind of life works for you. But if you decide, no, I really need to understand what my life is all about and how I can interact with it in the most positive way for myself, then you will want to fully immerse yourself in the fifth dimensional way of being and take full responsibility. Just remember, you can find a life that works in either dimension. It's just not possible to find a life that works when you're going back and forth between the two. So you need to get clear. What do you want? What do you believe? What are you willing to do for yourself? And there is no right or wrong answer. There is merely the answer that feels best to you. So let's go over those questions one more time. They are so important, and it is really going to make the difference in the quality of life that you receive. What do you want in your life? What would you like to experience because you are living in a physical body? What do you believe? What belief system are you going to hold on to and practice every day? What belief system are you able to feel good about? If you're saying, well, I want to believe that the divine loves me, but you have a lot of trauma and unhealed hurt, you may not be able to fully step onto that bandwagon until you do the work to clear the trauma, to heal it, and to let go of all of the hurt. So it may not even be realistic for you to try to adopt that belief system until you've done the work to clear. Now, I do recommend that everybody does the work to clear. It is absolutely life-changing, but it's also a big responsibility. And that leads us to the last question, which is, what are you willing to do for yourself? It's kind of like saying to yourself, well, I really want a lot of money in my bank account, but I refuse to leave the house or work in any capacity. It's pretty difficult to get where you want to go from where you are when you're holding that belief. So what are you willing to do for yourself? If you choose a 5-dimensional life, you will be expected to seek, to learn, and to grow as you assume responsibility for everything that happens in your life. You will not be able to live randomly or just say, I don't feel like participating right now. You're going to need to really pay attention. Now, if you want to live without responsibility, if that feels okay to you, and you are not going to bounce back and forth and agonize over it, if you just want to live a life that has no responsibility, and you're willing to allow your life to unfold randomly, then that 3D way of being will allow you to stay in a place of less responsibility. Remember, there's no punishment. Nobody is being forced to go one way or the other. However, each one of these states of being has a way of being that's attached to it. So it's very important that you choose the way that feels best to you and stay in that lane. You want to stay in your own lane. Stability becomes yours when you decide and then stick with your decision. If you constantly find yourself running back and forth between decisions, you're going to make it really difficult for yourself moving forward. For those of you who need help, who feel that they cannot make these decisions on their own, or if you have chosen to be in the fifth dimension and just feel like you would really like someone to help you understand all that you can achieve and what it is that you're supposed to be responsible for, if you're looking for a guide, a coach, someone to help you get from where you are to where you want to be, then please go to my website, marciamartinthehearthealer.com. That's Marcia spelled Marcia, and schedule your angel breakthrough session. I have, I believe, I may be at capacity right now, but I may still have space for one more person in the one-on-one counseling. It's Marcia, Marcia, at Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer. Now, if you cannot get in to the one-on-one, or if your budget does not permit you getting the one-on-one counseling, which is certainly much more expensive than anything where you would be part of a group, I also offer a very budget-friendly option, which is on Patreon, and you can access that Patreon option from my website as well. Right now, I have one tier open, $7.77 a month. It is doable on any budget, and I have packed it full of healing advice and techniques and tips that will help you navigate the fifth dimension more easily and with greater success. It is not the same level of in-depth work that we're able to do one-on-one, but the cost reflects that. So you can treat yourself for $7.77 a month, and you will have access to all of the information that I have gathered throughout my journey. And this is the kind of help that when I was first beginning my journey, I would have loved to have this kind of in-depth support. The other thing that I would advise that you do is get on my mailing list, because then you will be advised when there's new information in the Patreon community. Also, you will receive the blog, and the blog is a channeled message directly from a group that calls themselves the Transformationalists, who are beings that have had a physical life experience and understand how difficult it can be to navigate while in the physical body. So you will have access to the blog sent directly to your inbox. You will receive a weekly inspiration. Right now, we're in the middle of 90 days of affirmations. So you will receive support in every possible way I can think of, and that's all at no charge to you. So love yourself enough to say yes, to receive the support that will feel good to your heart by signing up for the mailing list. You can always unsubscribe if you find that it doesn't speak to you. But sign up for the mailing list, get the support that you need, and at the very least, join me on Patreon so that you will have ongoing support for your spiritual journey. It is absolutely accessible to every single one of you. And as time moves on and as this community builds, we are going to be adding on Tier 2 so that it will be a group that meets to help with manifesting. I will be listening to how you're going about the process, your manifestation process, and giving you advice on that. In addition, we know where 2 or more are gathered, we have an even greater ability to support each other and to call to us that which we desire. And if there is enough interest in group counseling, I would be willing to open the tier for group counseling. So, as always, I am grateful that you've all been here with me today. If you have an idea for a show that you want to hear, please send me an email. If you just are interested in asking a question or you've got a concern that you feel hasn't been answered, send me an email. I am absolutely certain that others will have that same question. And join me on YouTube. Every Monday now I am presenting a message from Mother God. Again, if you're on my email list, that will be sent to you. You won't have to go searching YouTube for it. If you want to ask Mother God a question, then send me an email and we will address it. However, we are out of time, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you that take time out of your Sunday to spend time with me. So until next Sunday, I'm sending you all my love.
You've been listening to another fabulous program on Angel Heart Radio. Our goal is to remind you of how much you matter in the world and to let you know that we appreciate who you are in the world. You can check out who's on, when we're on, and who our guests are at angelheartradio.com. Everything is there. It's all just one click away. Angel Heart Radio programs are powerful tools to help you in your life and your life experience. They are not intended, nor should they, be used to replace your medical or legal advice. The views expressed by hosts, co-hosts, callers, guests, and associates should not be construed as advice from Angel Heart Radio.